The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Before we got to start at 6, are there any representatives here from National Grid? If you'd like to come in and start to, get comfortable at the table in here, we'll just, once you're in, we'll get started. Hello. What's that? Are they going to be using the screen? Public, we have an informational session at 6 p.m. With National Grid regarding the A1/B2 transmission line soil boring project. So we do have a couple of representatives here from National Grid. I'm just going to ask that you make sure that the microphones are on, and you can, whenever you're ready, no rush, you can introduce yourselves. Tell us your names and begin with your presentation. Thank you. What are you looking for? The remote?
I looked it down here earlier. At like 3.
Is it gone? The remote?
Yeah.
David, check your drawer just in case you were
Somebody
put in there.
put it in here.
No.
Okay, this is when I kind of wish TVs were old and had buttons on the front.
I've got a remote.
Oh, he's got
Oh,
one.
thank
That's
you.
where he's got it.
Like, I know we have 2. I thought it was locked.
You good?
Oh, there we go.
Here we go.
Okay, I think I have this on. I don't know. If it's working. My name is Bethany Rocha, and this is Stephanie Leclerc. We're with National Grid. And we're going to be presenting the A1B2 Asset Condition Refurbishment Project. So it is a little bit more than the soil borings that was stated, but we'll go through it. This evening, we will be providing an overview of the A1B2 ACR project, an overview of the area, review the existing and proposed structure types and heights, provide an overview of permitting at the local, federal, and state levels, the current anticipated project schedule, and then take any questions you may have. If you do happen to have questions along the way, feel free to just pop your hand up and ask them. The A1B2 lines were originally constructed in 1909. The original lattice towers remain in place in most locations and need to be replaced because of their condition. The lines were replaced in 1920 and require replacing due to their deteriorating condition, just like the structures. The proposal for this project is to rebuild the lines to 115 kV standard, but to continue to operate at 69 kV when put in service. The structures will be built along the same center line as the existing structures for the westernmost portion of the project in Leominster, and again east of Candlewood Drive. As the lines cross Route 2 going east, the existing center line will be relocated closer to the set of lattice towers located in the right-of-way. Existing structures will be removed after the new lines are placed in service. The relocated center line will allow for a substantial reduction in the number of structures within Leominster. The net reduction will be 29 structures within Leominster. The right-of-way will be cleared to 100 feet where the A1B2 lines are the only circuits in the right-of-way, which is the westernmost portion of Leominster. And that will be maintained going forward. East of Route 2, the width of the existing right-of-way will remain generally unchanged as the A1B2 lines will be rebuilt further from the right-of-way edge. On average, the existing cleared right-of-way currently is 85 feet, with the minimum cleared width being 75 feet, and the maximum approximate is 100 feet from the A1B2 lines, where they are the only circuits existing in the right-of-way. The project proposes to maintain the cleared right-of-way 100 feet within the right-of-way, which is generally 120 or 150 feet wide. Where the A1B2 lines share the right-of-way with the 115 kilovolt I-135, J-136 lines, the right-of-way is generally maintained to 245 to 250 feet. The A1B2 lines will be rebuilt closer to the adjacent transmission lines as part of this project, so in this area there will be no additional clearing. In the easternmost portion of Leominster, the right-of-way is maintained at generally 355 feet wide and contains lines I-135, J-136, U-21S, and V-22S, and 230 kV lines, the East 205. There will be comprehensive outreach and work with individuals who are potentially affected throughout the life of this project along the right-of-ways. Our design focus has been on constructing access within the existing right-of-way to the greatest extent practical. In certain instances, terrain or sensitive resources have created the need to adjust the access alignments off right-of-way. There will be no permanent access constructed through wetlands, and the objective is to construct the amount of access necessary to safely construct the project and complete future maintenance, but no more than that. This is the area overview. The structure replacements within the existing right-of-way will occur on the main line. As you can see, that top small portion that's in Leominster is about 0.32 miles. And then there's a chunk that's in Fitchburg, and then when it continues back the main line in Leominster, it is about 6.22 miles long. So the total length within Leominster is 6.54 miles. Yep.
So that line that you just showed us, the one that is 6.5 miles through Leominster, that's existing?
Yes.
So that all exists, and then
Yep.
this is to simply go in and put in structures that are smaller and have a smaller footprint, basically, right?
So, yes, so we're, so if we go to the next slide, I can show you the difference. The footprint is smaller. They are greater in height. But it is along the same existing corridor. And so I will, yep.
Tell us where the additional clearing is being conducted, back on that other slide, is there a-
I cannot at this moment pinpoint where the additional clearing is, but we'll be happy to take that back to the team and let you know.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question too about the height. How tall are the existing and how tall are the new ones?
I will get to that very soon.
Okay.
Just because I'm going to show you the difference between the two, and then,
Okay, thank you.
but you might have questions after that, and definitely ask me. So the picture on the left depicts the typical structure type in Leominster on the A1B2 main line, and the structure on the right is shown to represent the proposed structure type. Existing structures are an average of 57 feet in height above ground and range in height from approximately 52 feet to 77 feet above ground. And the new structures range from approximately 89 to 116 feet in height above ground, with an average being 100 feet. So they're generally 43 feet taller. This is a picture of the cross-section. Yep. No.
Can you go back to that last slide? I had a question about that.
Mhm.
The, I can see the, the poles, but what's that big structure in front of those? It looks like a
Oh.
chimney of some kind.
Nope,
or-
that one is still a pole. It's just the angle that it's taken. It's taken from the ground at an upwards angle. So the top of that is a structure that you just can't see the total of.
Okay, but it's the same as the ones behind it?
Yep.
Got it, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This proposed cross-section shows the project right-of-way in the westernmost portion of Leominster and illustrates the difference between the existing and proposed structures in terms of height and configuration. This proposed cross-section shows the project right-of-way just east of Route 2, extending to Candlewood Drive in Leominster, and illustrates the difference between the existing and proposed structures in terms of height and configuration. This is where the right-of-way is shared with those other transmission lines. And this is part of the project that would not have additional clearing. This proposed cross-section shows the project right-of-way from Candlewood Drive in Leominster east for the next 5 existing structure spans, where the 69 kV U21S and V22S join the project right-of-way, and illustrates the difference between the existing and proposed structures in terms of height and configuration. The final proposed cross-section for Leominster shows the project right-of-way from 5 spans east of Candlewood Drive to the Sterling Town Line just east of Route 12, where the 230 kV E205 East joins the project right-of-way with the A1B2 lines, the 115 kV I-135 J136 lines, and the 69 kV U21S and V22S lines, and illustrates the difference between the existing and proposed structures in terms of height and configuration.
So just stopping right there for a second.
Yes.
The lines that are on, so there's 3 transmission lines basically, of structures, right?
In this one, there are 4.
Okay, so the ones to the extreme left and right, those are existing, right?
Yes.
And what's being replaced is the one toward the right center there?
Yes, correct. And it shows what is there now on the
Right.
bottom, and then
Right.
the proposed one at the top.
These new structures have the capacity to transmit more power than what's there now too?
They're being built to be able to hold 115 kilovolts, but they're being rebuilt. The lines that are going to be run are 69 kV. It's to allow for future expansion.
Right.
The permitting process is in federal, local, and state levels. For the state level, we have the Energy Facilities Siting Board. The federal level will be the environmental permitting, and at the local level, we have conservation commissions and other non-environmental permitting. Yep. It's okay.
Just curious,
Yeah.
what's the budget for this project?
I will have to get back to you on the budget for this project. Yep. This is the project schedule, and starting in fall of 2020, we started our stakeholder outreach, and that will be ongoing through the lifespan of the project until construction is complete. Next, we have field assessments, things such as surveying, access reviews, soil borings. Those started in the summer of 2020, and they'll be ongoing. Vegetation management started in the winter of 2021 with the soil borings, and will begin again in 2025 prior to construction. The permitting some of it has already started, so 2022 to 2025, and then the construction and restoration is planned for 2024 to 2028. Massachusetts construction is planned for 2025. So construction is basically, we like to say that it's kind of like an assembly line. So the construction process works similarly as it goes through. Vegetation management is the first steps, and then followed by staking and access reviews. From there, the foundations are set and structures are built within these foundations. Next, the wire is pulled through the new construction and put in service. After the wire is pulled, the old structures can be dismantled and the restoration begins for the affected areas. Within Leominster, the soil borings have already started this month, and I think they might be done next month, but that's subject to change.
So when you say 97 structures, that's all Leominster, right? All those 97 structures that we're talking about are all Leominster?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know the total count. In Leominster, I knew what we were reducing.
So
Yes, those are all in Leominster. So the total of the project is actually 61 miles long, and it starts up in Vermont, and it goes into New Hampshire and through Massachusetts and ends in Sterling. So yes, this was specific just to the Leominster portion.
good evening.
Good evening.
Stephanie's, both Stephanie.
Bethany and Stephanie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know how deeply you get into from this presentation. Is somebody here from BSC Group? One of you, or, no, okay, because I noticed that they had done some work on this, part of this submittal.
Yes.
Part of this 6.54 mile project goes through our water supply protection district. Some very sensitive lands, there are tributaries to the reservoir as well that are known as outstanding resource waters in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I would assume, I'm not really concerned about the soil borings because the diameter is probably 6 inches and really ubiquitous, but bringing a drill rig in there, sometimes you have to cross wetlands
Yes.
and streams, right?
Yep.
So are you using construction matting in that process?
Yes.
Do you know if the utility, if National Grid is still honoring Administrative Consent Order 662 regarding construction matting in these types of projects?
I do not know, but we can definitely take it to the team to find out.
All right, would you get that answer to the clerk for me when you have an opportunity?
Yes, what was before the 662?
Well, that's it for now, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Before you said, can you just repeat so she makes sure she has that question accurate?
I'd like to know if National Grid is still a party in an administrative consent order between the Department of Environmental Protection and National Grid. The consent order is 000662. And it's regarding the use of construction matting in wetland projects and crossings, similar to what would be undertaken here in Leominster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Most of these, you have to get permitted through DCR, conservation commissions
Yeah.
locally.
Yep.
And is that also take in the defoliant, that you might be using any defoliants in the vegetation?
I actually am unsure, and so we can take that back to our forestry.
I know back in the day, there was a lot of controversy about defoliants that were used, and it created a lot of controversy. I'm going back a way, but
Yep.
I would think those are probably a thing of the past, but just to be sure.
I was going to say, I'm not 100% sure what defoliants are. Is there,
Well, it's like a chemical. that-
Okay.
That
Oh,
you would,
okay.
you
Yeah.
would
Yep.
apply to the vegetation to get rid of it,
okay,
basically.
all right, we can ask that.
I could compare it to Agent Orange that
I
was used
knew-
in Vietnam, and it,
I
which
had a
is
feeling you were going
the
to say
the
that.
type of defoliant that it is, but,
Yep.
and at one time, I think it was a similar property in those defoliants that were used, in a lot of the, which, nobody knew was a problem around here at that time, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely ask that and get back to you.
All right, thanks.
As far as the easements themselves, all the infrastructure, fencing, gates, all that kind of stuff, if any of that gets, moved or removed, that's all gonna be put back in place
Yes.
better, like as it is now, or maybe even better than it is now. And the reason why I ask is because I know that years ago, you spoke about Candlewood, right down at the end there, they put that development in within the past decade or so. And a lot of people on dirt bikes and stuff like that didn't realize that, it's not like, sand pits anymore, it's a neighborhood there.
Yep.
And National Grid didn't have the easement maintained so well. And I worked to get them to put all that fencing up that's on Samoset Drive, down near where the power lines are now, and it looks nice, and it's secure, and I haven't heard any complaints in years from any of the neighbors there about people racing up and down on dirt bikes, or, all the stuff that was going on down on the power lines, which none of it was good.
Yeah.
So hopefully, any infrastructure that's moved or removed, as long as it can be restored to what it is now or even better, that's something that'd be important to me, so.
Yes, that's definitely our aim, and if you have any specific input that you do want to share with us, whether down the line, closer to construction or not, we're definitely open to that.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome.
One last question, if I may.
Yeah.
One of the accompanying documents that was provided to us was addressed to Secretary Card, and it says the proponent expects that the EENF will be noticed in the environmental monitor on Friday, September 23rd, 2022, and that comments will be due by October 13th, 2022. So the public comment period on this project is closed?
For the EENF, I believe, which the EENF document is available on our website, if you would like to look at that.
There was a link that didn't work. I tried to get on. There was
Oh, on the website? Oh, okay.
one of the links that was provided in the accompanying documents that we received in our packet.
Oh, okay. I wonder if, do you happen to know, was it to the project website specifically?
I could go back and find it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we know so we can fix it.
I think the clerk's aware of it as well.
I can email you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And one last question for you, and I'll be done.
That's okay.
Is this project exempt from a MESA review, MESA?
I actually do not know what a
Endangered Species
MESA.
Act.
Oh,
Massachusetts Endangered Species Act.
I'm going to, I don't know personally, we can ask, but I'm going to say no. We have pretty extensive work with the environmental
So are
groups.
they gonna do, someone's gonna do an actual field inventory of the resource areas along this right away? Prior to bringing the drill rig out there and stuff?
We can ask. I would like to say yes, but I would rather ask and get you a specific answer.
All right.
I know that you all have this in your packet, but again, if you wanted the hotline and the email address and website for the project. We did recently update and put a new video on there that shows the construction process, so feel free to check it out. Yes.
Quick question.
Yep.
When they're changed over, all the old structures are gonna be removed?
They will be removed.
Nothing's gonna be left lying
Yep.
around?
And I was gonna say, sorry, I cannot see your name, but
Oh, that's okay.
I was gonna say, like you said, the footprint will be greatly reduced from what it was.
And then how about all of the wires, the existing wires? Are they going, is the number of wires on the new structure going to be reduced instead of having?
I don't believe so. I might be able to tell from the cross-section. They will be adding at the top a wire that is for protection. I can check on the total number of wires, but I think they run the same amount through.
Okay, yeah, if you could check that and just confirm it one way or the
Yeah.
other. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Are you done with your presentation?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm just making sure we.
Are there any more questions?
And again, if anything pops up after, feel free to directly email the.
You know what I'd like to see is a map of the existing clearings that shows where the additional clearing is going to be.
Okay, we can get that. Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, requests? Seeing none, thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you for having
We appreciate
us.
it, and I'm sure if there's any issues, we'll be in touch, and if there's anything we can help with, you know where we are, just reach out.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is now 6:35, and we have a public hearing on C-31. This was supposed to, what did I say?
31.
Sorry, C-61 at 6:35 PM. This was proposed at the last meeting to go to Ways and Means, and somehow it inadvertently got put on as finance, but I am going to ask that the Chair of Ways and Means and her committee handle this hearing and this item as it has always been customarily handled by Ways and Means. So, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Ms. Racine was supposed to be down. Yeah, she's here. Oh, she's behind you. So we're gonna have Ellen come and take a seat. She was hiding from me.
Yep. Hi.
Just so as anybody doesn't know, if you just introduce yourself.
Okay. CDBG Coordinator and Housing Director for the City of Leominster.
Okay, Ellen, will you tell us a little bit about the CDBG?
Community Development Block Grant from HUD. It's made for low to moderate income Leominster residents to be able to stay in their homes. And we help the 11 different nonprofits in town. I know, my voice is so loud though. It's not a problem. Oh, sorry.
And where does the funding come for the CDBG?
From HUD.
Okay. And what is can you give us an idea of how many people in the city that you've helped? Just say in the past year.
In the past year, about 380.
Okay, and for a total amount of, what were the funds, the range?
Oh, so we got 444, 827, 829 last year. We also had 755,000 left in COVID funding.
Okay,
And then we also have program income, which I'm spending this year actually. So we spent almost $2 million last year.
excellent. And can you tell us what the budget looks like for this year?
You guys have a copy of it in front of you.
Okay,
The only thing that would have changed on it so far would be under public services. What I didn't realize was Catholic Charities. We are not funding them this year. And not because of anything wrong, except for it's mandatory for everybody to come to our public hearing. Everybody that wants money, whether you can get it or not, has to come to that public hearing. They're given 2 different public hearings to come to, and they chose to come to neither one.
okay,
So they'll be on again next year, just not this year. We're
Okay.
gonna use that money to help people stay. We kind of have a thing going with people in the shelter. Now that we own Days Inn as our smock shelter for individuals, we need a place for families to go. We've been using Motel 6 for families. So we need money for that, so we're gonna replace that line with that for now, for this year.
And what is the process if there's a family, if there's an older family looking to stay in their home? What's the process? There an application process?
There's a housing rehab application. You have to be income eligible, that's the biggest part of the application. After that, you have to prove it with your documents and a deed to your house. The application's about 3 pages long. And then we pick and choose what we can do after we have our HUD certified inspector go out and check the house.
Okay. And do you have a board who makes the decisions?
Not anymore. We did have, before the pandemic happened, we had a board of random people, not random, but let's say the health director, the mayor, Wendy Weeks, just different people throughout that would meet up whenever we needed them to. During the pandemic, everything kind of changed and everybody had different schedules and different things going on. We defined it a little bit because we have a new inspector and he's certified by HUD. So therefore, he's telling us exactly what can and can't be done. You can have a wish list, but it doesn't mean we can do everything for you.
Okay.
We also have, the other thing we put into the program was we automatically do a lead test every single time we have a housing person now.
Okay.
The mayor does make the final decision on everybody we do help.
Okay. And you said you helped 380 people last year?
Mhm.
And you expect that number will stay the same, go up?
I don't know. Hopefully stay the same.
Okay.
We did 15 houses for individual activities. I wrote it down somewhere, that's why I'm looking. Which doesn't sound like very many, but it's 15 families that got to stay in their homes from, it can be as simple as a roof, or as much as a roof, windows, and siding to their house if it was covered in lead, depending on what has to be done. We only do single families, because that way we want to be able to help more people, versus a multifamily, it would take up all the money. We also helped 187 people between oil tanks, water lines that go to their house, smoke detectors, and lead testing.
Alan, I'm gonna open it up to any other members of the council who would
Sure.
like to ask you any questions.
Sure.
Sue Shalfo Zephyr,
Thank you.
Councilor.
Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah.
This is a very important program. I know every year, you come down, the mayor has come down and outlines for the public, really. I mean, most of us here have, been through a couple of these budgets, but it's very important for the community to know, one, because if people need this kind of funding, they can come and apply for it. And I did have a question, just for clarification, on the planning and administration and housing, the first page, not the program page.
Yep.
Elder service program, what is that? What does that
It's
provide?
changed. So last year, it was about handicap bathrooms. What we realized was that's not enough money to help very many people with handicap bathrooms with the cost of everything now.
Okay.
So we're gonna change that, actually. That's another change. I think, I'm not actually 100% sure what we're gonna do with it. What we're doing right now with the fire department is we're doing a lot of smoke detectors. So more than likely, as long as the need is still there, that would be a good fit. It has to be something in the housing range in order to spend that amount of money. It can't be something that goes towards public services. There's caps on all of the money.
Right, right. No, I know that's,
Yep.
part of the challenge, I think, because you've got so
It is.
many organizations that do come in and ask
Yep.
for funding.
And we have a new one this year, too. I don't know if you guys noticed. The mulch for the military.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
I did notice that, yeah. Are they local? They must
Yep.
be in Leominster, right? Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's excellent. I think that was the only question I had. $242,466 for, housing rehab. I know that, 15 families, it really is a lot of families. I
It
mean,
is
it
a lot
doesn't
of
sound like a
families.
big number, but that's a huge, huge benefit to the community.
But we spend a lot more than that money, simply because we get paybacks. The
That's-
way the program works, whatever money is spent on the house, it's a 0% interest loan / lien that
Yep.
goes on the property. When the house is sold, the program gets paid back, and you're only allowed to use that money to work on other houses. So we depend on that money every year, because you never know what's gonna happen.
Right.
But you use it the next year with how much money you have to help more people.
That's excellent, and that's a really
Yep.
important point, yeah,
Yep.
because that stretches that money a whole lot further. Thanks, that's
Yeah.
it, that's it. Thank you, Ellen.
Any other counselors have any questions, comments? Counselor Frida?
Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Claire.
I think one of the important things that we need to remember is that this is a mayor's program.
Yep.
We have no jurisdiction over it. That seems to be a bone of contention every year, just so it's clarified. The other thing, I know through experience, we found out when I had referred someone to you for help, that anybody that has a reverse mortgage on their property can't access any funds.
Correct.
We found that out. So I think for people that do have a reverse mortgage, which is becoming more and more popular, it's unfortunate that they can't get any additional help.
Well, when you
after
have
they
the
do that.
reverse mortgage, the bank actually owns your house.
Right.
Versus you owning the
Well,
house. So
they don't own it, but,
But the program wouldn't get paid back that way.
Right.
So that's one of the small,
Yep.
yeah.
thank you.
Counselor
Hi,
Arndinger?
Alan, I'm just curious, you
Yep.
mentioned days in, being used for the home, family shelters?
It's a shelter
It's a
now.
shelter
It's a
now.
smock shelter, yep,
Completely,
yeah.
yeah, I thought so, but
Yep.
about how many families are you sheltering there?
None there, because that's the individual shelter.
Oh, that's
So,
it.
yep,
Okay.
so it's actually Motel 6 that we're
Right.
using right now. And it's not a shelter, it's still Motel 6. It's just that somebody has to pay for them to stay at Motel 6. There's
So
no
that-
solution to that, so I've been using funds for that. I had COVID funds, and I could do that.
So you're still paying for those out of the CBDG
The
money?
COVID money, yep,
Oh, out of the COVID money, huh?
correct.
Okay.
Yep, and they extended that, so we have a few more months, longer to use
Uh-huh.
that money for that. Yep,
And what happens then?
I'm not sure what's gonna happen.
Oh, okay,
Trying to think ahead and apply for other things.
okay.
Yep.
Well,
Yep,
good
it's
luck
important,
with
there's a
this.
lot of people that need help.
Yeah.
Yep.
You see it every time you take a ride on the bike trail.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Through the chair to the at-large counselor, there are a number of programs, Frank, that are specifically to help shelter people. Some of the local organizations, including Spanish American Center and Jenny's Helping Hand, there are called EFSP, Emergency Food and Shelter Program monies that are available. And this year, I think because there's been so many people displaced, I know that Jenny's is working with the Spanish American Center and have kind of divvied up, who's doing what, but they have some money to spend to put up families at the Motel 6. So, yeah, everybody works together, but it's a tough thing.
It is, and it's one of the issues I think that is, just my personal opinion, is being underserved. We need to, I don't want to get on a bandstand, but
Well, we're also in a housing crisis, so
Yeah.
it's,
That's right.
yeah,
yeah,
it's
we
everywhere.
need to do something
Yep.
about it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for the good work you do.
Oh, thanks.
Any other counselors? Questions, comments? Okay, it looks like you're gonna get out of here a little bit early, Ellen. Thank you for coming down, thank you for all the work that you
Oh.
do, thank you for
Thank
answering
you.
our questions.
No problem.
Thank you for your input and your work towards the community, and we look forward to continuing that
Thank you.
relationship.
Thank you very much. Okay, we now have a hearing that was scheduled for 6:40 PM on 35-23. Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to hold that hearing?
Police chief and the captain in. Good evening. This is the public hearing of the Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Peter Angelini, Chairman. I'm joined by the other two members of the committee, the Ward 4 Councilor, Councilor Bedanza, and our Councilor Todd Deacon, the at-large councilor across from me. Petition 3523. John Freyer, Captain, Leominster Police Department, accept a new section of the City of Leominster Revised Ordinances, Chapter 14, Section 22, regarding prohibitions and requirements for the commercial sale of firearms and ammunitions, in parentheses, gun shops, within the City of Leominster. And the gentleman, I must say, Captain, you submitted a wonderful packet of information. It was very useful. And clearly put some time into this, time and effort. And before I continue any further, I'll turn the floor over to either the chief or the captain to make a presentation.
You've been doing all the work, I'm not gonna take credit.
I appreciate that, thank you. So I can't take all the credit for that packet, that handy guide on the Massachusetts general laws and all the ordinances from the various cities and towns. That's put together by the ATF in Massachusetts. So I got that from them when I was going through some issues that we ran into with somebody who was looking to open up a firearm shop in town. So half of the motivation behind this is to kind of fix some of the issues that we ran into when we were working with that citizen, and then the other half is to kind of prevent issues that we've seen going on in communities around us, so that we don't have the same impact as other communities have had. So, starting right off, the process for getting a federal firearms license. One of the first things that they have to do is they have to get a letter or certificate from the building commissioner that says that where they are planning on being, their address is allowed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and in the city of Leominster. So that was an issue before because we have different zoning than a lot of communities. All communities, it appears to me, after looking at this, have little variations of zoning. But Mass General Law requires it in an opinion letter from the Attorney General that it has to be a commercially zoned area. It cannot have any sort of residential unit attached to it at all. They don't care if it's pre-existing non-conforming. They don't care if it's mixed use that's allowed in our zoning. That building cannot have any sort of residential at all. So we ran into an issue where somebody was given a letter that said that they were allowed by right to open. They invested some money. It was in between two apartments. That can't happen. So eventually, so that's the beginning of the process for us when it comes to the ordinance and requesting that, or putting in an ordinance that says that before anything is issued, they got to talk to the chief of police about it. We can't get around those laws, unfortunately, and I kind of feel like after doing this one, we need to do a little more of our own due diligence in order to help any of our citizens that are looking to set this up, because after attending a couple trainings, let's say they're allowed into that commercial building. They get a lease. All of a sudden, the landlord decides he's mixed use, it's allowed, or he's pre-existing non-conforming. He's going to put somebody in there and let them stay in one of the I don't know, little offices or whatever and turn it into an apartment. Legally, we have to revoke their license. That's awful. It's an awful thing to do to somebody. You know what I mean? So we want a chance to work with them to help them along this process, pass on whatever information that we possibly can from them in terms of like these guides and different information and some of our experiences to kind of, you know, help them along in the process, because we're not against firearm shops. But we want to make sure that they're done right. And then the second proposal that I put in, I don't know if anybody has paid attention to what happened in Littleton with the mill, but they've got 40 to 60 FFLs that are going on in one single business. I know that years ago, the chief there attempted to regulate the amount of FFLs, and it was kind of shot down, and then it turned into, the situation there kind of snowballed. And it created a lot of community outrage, and they were local and national news. And we want to try to prevent that thing, that sort of thing from happening here, because quite frankly, it's more than we can handle. You know, we just, we currently have one FFL in the city of Leominster, one operating gun shop up at the Leominster Sportsmen's Association. We did their inspection. They passed with flying colors. They do a great job. They're very good to work with. But at the same time, if we had 60, that would be, it'd just be a little too much for us. We can't handle that. So what I proposed mirrored another community in terms of the 1,000 feet in between gun shops. For lack of a better term, I don't think we're married to the 1,000 feet. I think we'd be open to pretty much anything. And then keeping them 1,000 feet away from schools, museums, and libraries. That just kind of pushes them out of this downtown area, which honestly, they can't be there anyway. The commercial, strictly commercial zoning in Leominster, there's only a few places that are strictly commercial. And within them, there's only a couple buildings that aren't pre-existing non-conforming or are gonna not have some sort of a residential unit attached to it. So the chances of us getting another shop right now, I mean, that person would have to come in, they'd have to have probably good legal representation, they'd have to get a very good, strong lease with that building owner, and they would have to, you know, be in one of probably like 4 or 5 buildings in the city. So this really shouldn't affect that at all. But should zoning change in the future, or anything could happen, we really want to get these in here now to protect us. I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Captain. Chief, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I trust my captain, you know, he's more of a gun guy than I am, and you know, he does great research when it comes to this. I know Chief I always say his name wrong, Bernard out of Littleton, he had his hands filled down there. You know, most of the gun dealers there were by the books, running a good business. There was a few that were under the eye of the ATF, but that was deliberate wrongdoing on their part. So we just want to make sure that we have city ordinances on the books for us that make sure we protect our residents and the whole community as a whole. We have some other ordinance coming down the road for other things that we think is beneficial for the community too. So this has been going on for a year, but unfortunately, a lot of things with my department, it got put on the back burner. Finally, once a lot of things got taken care of, we were able to finally get this out here. KP Law worked with us along with taking what the captain did. Brian Riley did a great job, you know, putting all the dots where they needed to. So I think overall, this is a win-win for the community, and, you know, like I said, we're in favor of gun shops. You know, I'm a gun owner, so is the captain, and, you know, we expect people that want to be gun owners, you know, just follow the rules, and we're all gonna work and live together, good, so.
That was one of my, obviously, my concerns initially, was how it was gonna impact the Sportsman's Association, and obviously you guys work with them through this, which I thought was rather admirable of you. And anytime we're talking about constitutionally protected or areas, whether it's speech, religion, Second Amendment, obviously, I was glad to see that you reached out to KP Law for an opinion. The opinion actually encompasses both this petition and the next one that we're gonna be addressing. So perhaps I'll wait till after that, after the next one, and I'll read that into the record. So again, I think you guys took a lot of time to think this out, think this through. I can certainly understand the reluctance to locate a gun shop within any closer than 1,000 feet from the school.
Yeah.
But I know when I look back, I wasn't here when we adopted the marijuana zoning, but I know that it's 500 feet from one marijuana facility to another. So I don't know, out of consistency and ordinance, we may want to entertain 500 feet between buildings.
It's 1,000.
Is it 500?
It's 1,000.
It's
That's
1,000
1,000
It's
feet.
1,000, yeah.
I stand corrected.
We do our homework.
I prefaced that with, I wasn't here when it was
There you go.
adopted, so that's my, all right, so that'd be one of the only things that I'd question at all in this. And at this time, let me go to members of my committee. Council Bedanza.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Captain, one of the things that I think you probably have considered, because it sounds like you have some of the factual information to assess it already, and thank you for all the work that you've done on this, by the way, is we can't make it impossible, right? Because then we have a problem. So when you worked with Attorney Riley, I'm sure you looked at the situation from that perspective as well as to whether or not what we were permitting provided enough of an opportunity to a prospective FFL to open up and not being so restrictive that we have basically zoned them out completely.
Yeah, no, there is still some opportunity, but like I said, the first thing that they're gonna have to do is look at the zoning map. And the areas that are strictly commercial, those are the only legal opportunities that they have.
Right.
Unless we have another outdoor sporting range that pops up. in
Right.
Leominster. I don't think we have room for it.
Yeah.
But they are gonna have to be in one of those areas. So if you look at those areas, there's not many of them that are honestly within 1,000 feet of a school, library, or
Right.
museum. They are well over the 1,000 feet. So that's, I don't want to say that it's useless, because it's not, because things can change. Zoning
Sure.
can change, things like that.
Yeah.
So we want to, although this 1,000 feet is important, it's not going to have a big effect on the commercial areas on the zoning map.
Because basically, there's residential occupation everywhere the 1,000 feet is going to apply, pretty
Correct.
much.
Yes, yeah. So that shouldn't be preventative of anyone that comes
Right.
in. And like I said, we really want to work with them anyway. If someone's going to come in there and have a shot at one of these, just going through and seeing all the issues that the last citizen had to go through, it really wasn't fair to them. So by kind of putting these things in line now, it just helps us work with them better. But we're all about working with them. If somebody wants to come in here and do that process, they have to work closely with the police department anyway, because we're the licensing authority. So we have resources to offer them. We don't want to just be standing over them, looking for something to discipline, if you will. We want to we want to work with the community and, partner with businesses the best that we can from, the services that we have to offer.
So
If
that
I can
basically,
just- If I can just
Oh,
stop you
okay,
right
stop
there,
the
I
meeting.
gotta start the meeting at 7 o'clock. We'll come right back into this. But for now, if you would all please stand and join me for a salute to the flag, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Leominster City Council to order for April 24th, 2023.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Council Bedanza.
Present?
Councilor Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Brady.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
And I am present. All 9 members are present. Madam Vice President, do you have any records to approve this evening?
I do, Mr. President. I have reviewed the records, the minutes from March 13th, 2023, March 27th, 2023, and I find them to be in good order, and I ask that they be placed on file. I have also reviewed the minutes from April 10th, 2023. I have not heard from anyone regarding any changes. I also find those to be in good order, and I'd ask that those be placed on file as well.
Okay, unless there's any objection, the minutes for those 3 meetings that were mentioned will be placed on file. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, a motion for a recess. I wish we were adjourning already. Councilor Bedanza and Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, all those in favor of going into recess, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, we are now in recess. And Councilor Bedanza, I believe you were
Thank you, Mr.
making a
President.
point.
So I guess I just wanted to make the point is that you've essentially put together a schematic where if somebody wanted to come in to open an establishment, that there's a process in place that you can guide them through, that there's an opportunity at least to do it somewhere in the city. And by getting you guys involved at the front end, you're gonna prevent the business owner from making a fatal error or a costly error that will just have them spending money for no good reason, putting together a proposal that's an impossibility. In other words, catch it at the front end.
You are correct, yeah,
Okay.
and helping them steer, those investments in the right way. And as far as like being prohibited too with any of these requirements that are listed under B, these are just general safety things that are not covered by the law, but they should be. So like having an alarm system,
Yeah.
And before I did this, I talked with the ATF agent that covers this area for the federal firearms licenses. I reviewed that paperwork. He's the one that sent that to me. I talked to Roger at the Sportsmen's Association. They were actually in the middle of doing like a remodel, and this was all stuff that he was doing anyway, and it was great. It was
Good.
wonderful to work with, so.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for all your work, Captain. Appreciate it.
Councilor Deacon.
Thank you, Chairman Angelini. Chief, Captain, thanks for coming down. I know Captain Freyer has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the firearms sector, and I think he did a great job with updating and some housekeeping in regards to the ordinances. So I thank you for your work on that, and the packet was very informative, and some areas that were an eye-opener, I think. And I think between you and the chief leadership, I think we can feel good about it going forward. Because obviously firearms is the big word right now with things that are going on throughout the country. So thank you for your work. That's it.
All right, at this time, I'll open up to members of the council. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yep, thank you very much. Thanks very much, Chief and Captain Freer, for coming down. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you for taking the leadership, to go out and do the research, collect all of the information, because all of the information, as Councilor Deacon said in the packet, was really, certainly helped change my mind or, help educate me. So that was really very, very helpful. And doing this stuff proactively and reaching out to the community to be a partner with people who do want to open up businesses. We want to have clarity around what, what are the rules are in Leominster. So this goes a long way in just really clarifying for those kinds of folks, what the zoning is. So thank you very much for doing that, and for doing it in such a thoughtful and comprehensive way.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Frida?
I understand there was confusion with the building permit that was issued, or the permit that was issued. Has that been resolved?
Yes.
It has?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, yes. Yes, it has. As soon as we found out, there was immediate discussion, and the second time around, it was much smoother, and it was a much more inclusive process.
Okay. I'm curious as to why you don't have churches listed in that list of schools and museums.
So, not opposed to it. There is certainly multiple ordinances from other jurisdictions in that packet that list churches. There's also some that don't. We do have a lot of churches, and we do have a lot of churches that are popping up in areas where you wouldn't expect them to be traditionally. Like, a brick and mortar church is now they're churches that are moving into space that is commercial. So that's one of the things that, although I have the utmost respect for it, and I kind of took my personal feelings out of it, and I was trying to look at it from a police point of view, and I thought to myself, it would be, there's not a lot of chances of new libraries popping up in this day and age. There's not a lot of chances of a new school moving into a commercial area. There's not a lot of chances of museums moving into those commercial areas in this internet day and age. So there's a pretty good chance that there may be a church going in that may pop up in one of those commercial spaces. And if somebody's there and they've been established and they're doing a very good job, I don't believe it would be fair to then tell them that because there's a new tenant over here, you have to shut your doors and pull their license away from them, because now you're taking away somebody's livelihood because another business comes in. So I was kind of thinking that may end up being something that we might want to stay away from, although I totally understand it, and if the council
But
wants to make
the
that
only
amendment.
reason, the first thing that comes to mind is the one on Willard Street, near the old J. Casey Transportation. There's a church, and then there's, I'm not sure if it's Electrolux or what it is right next to it. So those are two buildings on the same commercial,
Right.
I would think commercial. It could even be industrial, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I don't have the map in front of me, but like I said, most of our zoning is mixed use anyway. So, that's not something that I think that we would be opposed to if the council wanted to amend that and throw that in. It's just, that may be something down the road that may cause issues more than the others. That's the only thought process behind that.
And on the, well, that's a question for the next one, never mind. I'll wait. Thank you.
All set, Council?
What's that?
Anyone else? All right, gentlemen, thank you. I think we'll, this time we'll move to close the public hearing.
Public
Oh,
comment.
public, I'm so sorry. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 3523? For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 35-23? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 35-23? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed.
We can move right into the 36-23 public hearing, which was supposed to be at 6:40 as well.
This is a public hearing of the Legal Affairs Committee on petition 36-23. John Frayer, Captain, Leominster Police Department, accept a new section of the City of Leominster Revised Ordinances, Chapter 11, Section 7.1, regarding the sale of firearms and ammunition by pawn shops within the City of Leominster. Once again, I'll turn it over to the chief and the captain. If they have anything on this one they'd like to share with the council?
No, but we were thinking about any pawnbrokers, I believe there's only, we were just talking one. We don't feel that having any type of activity in those stores were necessary in Leominster. We wanted to just make sure the laws were changed and the proper access of these guns should be handled by like gun shops that are properly registered, like we were talking in the earlier ordinance. I'll refer anything to the captain, but this was, I think, a no-brainer when it came to the safety of our residents, is that making sure those guns stayed out of pawn shops where they weren't being sent out for, like, they can lose loans on them and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the pawning and loaning for guns is already prohibited by Mass General Law. Sale is more of a local thing, so it's the chief's purview whether or not they would be suitable applicants in that business. And there is a lot that goes into that, but one of the biggest things that I want to draw your attention to on here is accessories. So we have a huge problem, not just in Massachusetts. I don't want to say huge, but there is a problem in Massachusetts, and it's not just here, it's across the country with ghost guns. And people that are making their own firearms on their digital 3D printers and whatnot. So when it comes down to it, we don't want our pawn shops having anything to do with firearms. There's a lot of regulations that go on in pawn shops. We have a dramatic decline in the amount of crime and stolen property and things like that are flowing through our pawn shops due to all of the regulation and reporting that they have to do. We have nothing on firearms or accessories for firearms, and we really want to make sure that we're steering them towards those firearm shops, like the legally licensed firearm shops, in order to deal with any sort of accessories or firearm parts or whatnot. We just would rather keep that in the eyes of in the hands of the professionals when it comes to the firearms.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Perhaps I'll read the opinion that you received from Coltman and Page into the record before I go to members of Legal Affairs. Let's see if we have a date on this. Well, I can't find it in the email, but it's here somewhere. Hi, Chief. My apologies for taking so long on these. I have reviewed the proposed ordinances that you provided. In my opinion, there are no provisions that are inconsistent with state law. In regards to ordinance 11-7.1, I will note that General Law, Chapter 140, Section 131B already prohibits the loan or loaning of money secured by mortgage, deposit, or pledge of a firearm, rifle, shotgun, or machine gun. However, I do not believe it is a problem to also have this prohibition contained in an ordinance. Ordinance 11-7.1's additional prohibition of a pawnbroker holding a license to sell, rent, or lease firearms is, in my opinion, a reasonable extension of a licensing authority's ability under General Law, Chapter 140, Section 70, to determine whether a pawnbroker license applicant is a suitable person to run a pawn shop. In regards to Ordinance 14-22, in my opinion, the Chief of Police may place reasonable conditions on the granting of a license pursuant to General Law, Chapter 140, Section 122. As you are aware, General Law, Chapter 140, Section 123 imposes numerous conditions relating to record keeping, reporting, display of firearms, safety, and storage. In my opinion, the proposed conditions in the ordinance are consistent with the concerns articulated in General Law, Chapter 140, Section 123. In addition, General Law, Chapter 140, Section 125, which grants the chief of police, after due notice in a hearing, the ability to suspend a license, seems to anticipate conditions being placed on license holders, citing both violations of a condition of the license and violations of General Law, Chapter 140 as grounds for suspension or forfeiture of a license. My only suggestion is to consider defining active service a bit more definitively in the alarm system ordinance. By Googling it, I found the following. A monitoring alarm system is any alarm system that receives service, active service, from an alarm monitoring company. This service is used by the system to send outbound distress signals in the event of an emergency. The signals can be sent to a monitoring station or directly to the end user. I imagine that this is how the term is used, but I didn't want to wander too far out of my area of expertise. Happy to address any other questions you may have. Brian Riley, Esquire, KP Law. So I think Mr. Riley's opinion certainly validates both of these ordinances that you so aptly described this evening. At this point, I have no questions on the pawnbroker ordinance revision. I will go to members of Legal Affairs. Councilor Bedian.
Just a quick question on, actually probably the first one, but, so you heard, you saw Attorney Riley's position regarding the specificity of the alarm system language. Is that something that's okay with you?
Yes, I actually edited the first draft, so the one you have.
Yeah.
I put in have and maintain an active, an alarm system and active service that will provide the positive notification. So I made the adjustment based off of
Thank
this
you, Captain.
recommendation.
Councilor Deacon.
I'm all set, thank you.
Are there any members of the council? Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Thank you. Captain, I just want to say, I was actually more interested in this particular, in 36-23, because that was one of my biggest concerns. And I'm glad you addressed that, is with the pawn shops and this taking place in hands that are not fully licensed, not that you're, that you have a direct eye on. I'm glad to support both petitions, but in particular this one. That was one of the biggest fears that I had, so thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Welcome, thank you.
Any other councilors? Let me go to the public. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 36-23? Once again, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 36-23? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 36-23? Seeing or hearing none, I will declare this public hearing closed, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys very much for all your work. Thank you. And before we go back into session, we're going to hold a public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. No one has officially signed up, but I will ask, would anybody like to speak at the public forum? If so, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Once again, would anybody like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, would anybody like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed, and we will now stand back in session. And we will move right into communications from the mayor, beginning with C-63. Madam Clerk.
C-63, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $60,000 be made to the police indemnification accounts, and the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
And C-63 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-63 has been given regular course. C-64.
C-64, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request that an appropriation of $1 million be made to the street resurfacing expense account, the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
And C-64 is likewise referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-64 has been given regular course. C-65.
Mr. President, on C-64 through the chair,
Yes.
could we get a list of prospective streets to be resurfaced with that money?
To the extent that that exists, I will endeavor to obtain it. I'm not sure it exists, but we'll find
Okay.
out.
Must be an idea what they're looking to do.
I don't know. I'll find out. I will inquire.
You-
C-65.
C-65, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request that an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the Police Department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account.
And C-65 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Again, regular course, please.
C-65 has been given regular course. Moving on to the appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Requests the reappointment of the following individual. Historical Commission, term to expire 4/15/2026, Rocco Palmieri, 20 Haynes Court, Leominster, Mass.
And this appointment will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course.
And this appointment has been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, first time on the calendar, 37-23.
37-23, Christopher Rivard. Request to renew transient vendor license.
And 37-23 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the agenda, regular course, please.
37-23 has been given regular course. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Thank you. Through the chair to the city clerk, there's no information with this. There's no application or.
So
what kind of
transient
vendor?
vendors only have to put in a basic petition for
Okay.
their transient vendor license. It's the same gentleman who does it for the past long time. But I always, as a courtesy, send it to the police chief, so he actually has it. They're doing a query for it anyway.
But we don't, what's the person selling? Do we know what they sell?
Flowers,
Roses, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day flowers.
In the same location, or does he move around the city? And is it for one day, or how long's the license for?
The license is good for 1 year,
Okay.
and he usually hangs out in front of St. Leo's and St. Joe's.
He's been
Yeah.
doing it for about 50 years that I can remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the only one who actually gets a license with us appropriately every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that 37-23 has been given regular course. 38-23.
38-23, North Central Mass Launch, LLC, doing business as Launch Leominster. Request a bowling alley license for Launch Leominster, 118 Commercial Road, Leominster, Massachusetts.
And 38-23 will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to ask that this be given regular course and that we establish a public hearing, May 8th, 2023 at 6:50 PM, if that's okay?
Okay, so 38-23 will be given regular course, and we will take a vote to establish a public hearing on May 8th, 2023. All those in favor of establishing that public hearing signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the public hearing for May 8th, 2023 has been established, and this has been given regular course. 39-23, Madam Clerk.
39-23, Sterling Jewelers, Inc., doing business as K Jewelers, number 1285. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles, 100 Commercial Road, Leominster, Mass.
39-23 is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the agenda, regular course.
And 39-23 has been given regular course. 40-23. Counselor Angelini?
Mr. President, on 39-23, just when I was going through these, this one has applicant, license, address, and it just gives a street and no city or towns. I just wondered if that was, someone missed that. It says,
Right.
gives a street address, but I don't see the town or the city.
Right.
On page 4.
Oh, well, it's not on the front.
Yeah, sorry.
On,
I-
on the
that's my
application.
question then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you good? All set?
All set. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. President.
No problem. 40-23, Madam Clerk?
40-23, Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid, requests permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way: Spruce Street, National Grid to install one solely owned pole on Spruce Street beginning at a point approximately 450 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Whitney Street and continuing approximately 20 feet in a south direction. Install pole number 4-5 approximately 50 feet west of pole number 4 for new transformer bank to temporarily feed 31 Spruce Street. Location approximately is shown on plan attached. Wherefore it prays that after due notice and hearing as provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary, said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked Spruce Street, Leominster, Massachusetts, number 307-07914, April 14th, 2023. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Your petitioner agrees to reserve space for one cross arm at a suitable point on each of said poles for the fire, police, telephone, and telegraph signal wires belonging to the municipality and used by it exclusively for municipal purposes.
And 40-23 will be referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Thank you very much. We would like to give this regular course with a referral to the DPW and also establish a public hearing for May 8th, 2023 at 6:45 PM.
Okay, so 40-23 will be given regular course, and we will be establishing, taking a vote to establish a public hearing on May 8th, 2023 at 6:45 PM. All those in favor of establishing that public hearing signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the public hearing for May 8th, 2023 at 6:45 has indeed been established, and this is given regular course. 41-23.
41-23, Entertainment Cinemas Leominster LLC, request to renew theater license located at 45 Sac Boulevard, Leominster, Mass.
And 41-23 will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, Mr. President?
41-23 has been given regular course. Moving on to matters before the City Council. Mr. Chairman of Finance, do you have a financial report?
I do. We started the fiscal year on July 1st of 2022 with a balance in the stabilization account of $20,675,366. Since that time, we've added to the account interest of $215,655 and a transfer in from excess and deficiency of $4 million, making a resulting balance of $24,891,021. And we have expended from that account $3,922,923 for a balance of $20,968,098 to date. And that is the financial report.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on the financial report? Seeing none, we will now move to C-61, and as I said earlier before the public hearing began, it was inadvertently referred to Finance, but this is going to be handled by Ways and Means. So, Madam Chair, are you ready to report on C-61?
I am, Mr. President. We did have Ellen Racine down here this morning this afternoon, I'm sorry, to give us a little bit of information about the CDBG program, how it works, how the money is being spent. This is a very important program to the city, and it would be my position to accept the proposed CDBG budget and action plan for the city. And I'd ask you to check with the members of my committee.
Councilor Arger.
I agree.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
I agree as well, and I would like to state that I will recuse myself from the Ginny's Helping Hand portion because I do have a relationship with that organization, but will support the rest of the program.
Understood. Thank you very much. So you've heard the recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-61. Is there any further discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-61 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0, with Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr abstaining from the Ginny's Helping Hand portion, C-61 has been granted. Moving on to the item under Finance, C-62. Madam Chairman, are you ready to report? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Thank you. I appreciate
I'm
that.
still on vacation, I think. I can't think about what I'm saying.
That's okay. We'll guide you.
Thank you.
C62, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request to adopt a COLA increase from 3% to 5%. Under the new law, a retirement system would need council approval as well, RE, to increase the 3% cap to 5% for one time. This law requires council approval. So there was a letter that came down with this from the mayor. The governor signed a law that added acceptance for one time above the cap to increase the public pension cost of living adjustment to 5% in fiscal '23. The Leominster Retirement Board had approved an annual COLA of 3% for fiscal '23 in May of '22. The Leominster Retirement Board voted 3-2 against approving an additional one-time 2% COLA increase in March of '23. To adopt a COLA increase from 3% to 5% under the new law, retirement system would need council approval as well. So, as indicated, the governor signed into law there's typically a 3% cap on COLAs in the retirement system. But for one time, the special legislation permits the city to go up to 5%. And what the mayor is asking us to do is to enable that, because it requires our approval as well. Based on the fact that it's one time, it'd be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-62. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
And Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-62. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-62 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-62 has been granted. Moving on to 33-23. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Sure. 33-23, Greg C. Chapter Lane, Purchasing Agent, request to allow the purchasing agent to award 2 contracts, each for a 6-year period. Both contracts will be bid separately and awarded separately, and the contracts are for banking services and lockbox services. Lockbox services, of course, are, the company that receives payments that are destined to the treasurer's office, collects those for the treasurer. We've deliberated on a number of these over the years. It's the purchasing agent's position that typically we get a better price for these services by going out for 6 years. The law that's in place under Chapter 30B, Section 12, limits it to a 3-year period. In order to go to the 6-year period, we need to enable it as a city council. As the purchasing agent has told us in the past, there's always a provision in these contracts that allows him to terminate the contract if the particular contractor is not performing as required under the agreement. So there's sort of a fail-safe associated with it. Based on the guidance that the purchasing agent has given us in the past, his representation that these are better arrangements for us in terms of price, it'd be my position, Mr. President, to grant 33-23. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant 33-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 33-23 signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 33-23 has been granted. And the final item under Finance, 34-23, ready to report, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. 34-23, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, Purchasing Agent, request to allow the purchasing agent to award a contract for ambulance billing services for a 6-year period. And just like the prior petition, again, the purchasing agent has made a qualitative decision that a 6-year contract period benefits the city, and again, has the fail-safe in the contract if there's a problem. This one is for ambulance billing services, and it'd be my position, Mr. President, to grant 34-23. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I've been supportive of these extended contracts in the past, and I will be supportive this time as well, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant 34-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 34-23 signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0, 34-23 has been granted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, 35-23. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 35-23 against John Freyer, Captain, Leominster Police Department. Accept the new section of the City of Leominster Revised Ordinances, Chapter 14, Section 22, regarding prohibitions and requirements for the commercial sale of firearms and ammunition, gun shops within the City of Leominster. As you're aware, Mr. President, we held a public hearing this evening. The chief was accompanied by the author of the petition, Captain Freyer. I thought he did a marvelous job, answered all our questions. And it would be my position, I would recommend that we adopt 3523, and I would ask you to poll the members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza
I am in favor of 35-23.
and Councilor Deacon.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 35-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 35-23 signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0, 35-23 has been granted. Moving on to 36-23. Mr. Chairman, you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 36-23. John Freyer, Captain, Leominster Police Department. Accept the new section of the Leominster, City of Leominster Revised Ordinances, Chapter 11, Section 7.1, regarding the sale of firearms and ammunition by pawn shops within the City of Leominster. Once again, the chief and Captain Freyer were here this evening regarding this petition as well, and answered all our questions, and I will recommend, or it would be my recommendation, that we adopt 3623, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Councilor Bedanza
I'm in favor.
and Councilor Deacon.
In agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation once again of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 36-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 36-23 signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0, 36-23 has been granted. Moving on to items under Ways and Means. We have a few appointments here, and I will ask, is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
I am, Mr. President, and seeing as these are all reappointments, I'd ask if it's okay if we do them en bloc.
I have no objection. Anybody have any objection to that? Seeing none, you may do so.
Thank you. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of the following individuals to the Board of Appeals. Term to expire 4/15/2026, Henry Fry of 435 Lancaster Street, Leominster, Mass. To the Planning Board, term to expire 4/15/2028, Patrick Perla, 11 Revolution Drive, Leominster, Mass. And to the Registrars of Voters, terms to expire 4/15/2026, Ann B. Mahan, 85 Exchange Street, Leominster, Charles Millens, 54 Rose Avenue in Leominster, and Nancy Pemerini, 215 West Street, Leominster, Mass. Mr. President, it would be my position to grant the reappointment of each of these individuals, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger
I agree.
and Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr. Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant the reappointments. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting these reappointments signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, all of these reappointments have been confirmed. Moving on to items under new business, we have a first reading of an ordinance which was formally petition C-60. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I'll report, Mr. President. C-60, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an amendment to the non-union employees' salary and wage scale for fiscal year 2024 with the attached scale. Also, please amend the ordinance to non-union positions and classifications based on the support attached. Mr. President, I was advised earlier today that the ordinance form has not been returned to us by Copeland and Page, so
Okay.
I would ask for further time, and I would ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Bedanza?
I'm fine with further time.
Councilor Deacon?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so the recommendation, the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee is to give or the first reading of this ordinance, which was formerly petitioned C-60, further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of further time signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the first reading of this ordinance has been given further time. That is the only item listed under new business. Is there any other new business? Seeing none, we will move right into old business. There is one second reading of an ordinance which was formally petition 19-23. Mr. Chairman, you ready to report?
Mr. President, due to an existing business relationship I have with an abutter to this ordinance, I have recused myself throughout the process, and I will continue to do so, and I would ask the second member of Legal Affairs, Councilor Bedanza, to stand in for me.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Councilor Bedanza?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the second reading of an ordinance, formally petition 19-23. William Brady, Ward 1 Councilor, request to amend Chapter 13 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-34, no parking on certain streets by inserting the following. No parking on Lock Drive on both sides for the entirety of the street. Be my position, Mr. President, to grant the second reading of the ordinance, and I'd ask you to check with the other member of my committee.
Councilor Deacon?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we are going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The second reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Is there any other old business to come before the City Council? Councilor Brady.
Not quite sure if this is old business or not. I'm just wondering, we continue to get letters from a gentleman. Can we refer this to this building commissioner?
Yeah,
Can we,
absolutely.
can I state?
Yeah, sure, if you'd like to quickly give
Mr.
a synopsis.
Matarese, you,
On the agenda.
Yeah.
I've already referred it to the other city departments, and they're actively working on it. So the mayor's office is aware, the health department's aware, the building department's aware, and so is police and fire.
oh, great. I just want to make sure he knows that he's being heard.
Okay,
We will likely see more letters.
okay. And when, Madam Clerk, if you get any response from them, can you forward that to the council? Okay, okay. All right, thank you very, very much. Is there any other old business? Seeing none, there's an item under the community calendar. I believe Councilor Frida had asked for this to be put on there. There's a dog tag flag, April 28th, 2023 to April 30th, 2023 at the Johnny Roberge Park. And on April 29th, 2023 at 11 a.m., there's going to be a ceremony there. So Councilor Frida, do you have any other information on this
Yeah,
that you want to elaborate on?
it actually loses something in the dog tag flag. It's a little bit more somber than that. It's a flag that's made up of dog tags that reflect all servicemen that have died since September 11th. And it's a traveling flag that is, it's been all over, they've been trying to get it for about 3 years, so it's being sponsored by a couple of different organizations, and will be there on the 28th, and it'll be, anybody can visit it from the time, it'll be 24 hours, someone will be standing with it, and the ceremony will be on the 29th at 11 o'clock. So.
Okay. And obviously, the setup will be there, rain or shine. How about the ceremony? Will that be taking place, rain or shine as well?
I believe so.
Okay.
Because it goes from here, it goes to Connecticut after, so
Okay.
I don't think there's a change in time frame.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Is there anything else to come into the community calendar? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, just a reminder to all the councilors at the Mass Municipal Councilors Association, everybody's gotten an email regarding this, and numerous emails as reminders that Thursday night, the 27th, the Grill on the Hill in Worcester, April 27th, 6 to 8. By popular request of a survey of councils throughout the Commonwealth, we have Attorney Anne Marie Noonan from Valerio Dominello and Hillman Law Firm, who will be speaking on issues regarding social media and interactions from counselors to social media. So it's something that was requested, and it looks to be something that we probably could all hear. There's networking, discussion by the attorney, and then a light dinner to follow. It's no charge, it's part of our dues to the Counselors Association.
Okay, and this is on the 27th
Yep.
in Worcester. Okay. All right, is there anything else to come
There's
into
just a registration that, if you don't have it, you can contact me and I'll forward it.
And if you're interested, you should formally register. Okay. All right, is there any, Counselor Ardinger?
I believe we received a letter from Veterans, Director of Veteran Services, Rick Voiture, about Memorial Day. And
Yes.
that, should be on the community calendar also.
Yeah, we can put that on the next community calendar and then the 2 meetings in May, or do we have just 1 meeting before? No, we have 2 meetings before Memorial Day in May. So if we can put that on there so we can remind them. I think there's another event. I gotta check with the Veterans Director to see if I think it's open to the public on May 11th,
Yeah.
but we have another, I don't have that letter in front of me, and we have another meeting
The
prior to
Medal
them.
of Fidelity.
I'm sorry?
You're thinking of the
Yes.
Medal of Fidelity.
Yes, that's correct, yeah. That'll be on May 11th. If you can put that on the May 8th agenda as well, then we can read that and remind everyone as well. Okay. Is there anything else to come on the community calendar? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr had her hand up first, and then Counselor Bedanza seconded. All those in favor of adjournment signify in the usual manner by a vote of 9-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you all very much.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.